Hi, I'm Julia. Welcome to the Writer's Room again today. I have a true story for you. It is titled Hiking North. It is a story that my husband and I wrote together of our experience on our very first day hiking the Appalachian Trail. The train wobbled down the tracks in the summer heat. Stuffy air held our anticipation in. Once we had to leave its safe cocoon of space, confining but comforting at its best, we were ready, or so we thought. There was two well-seasoned and wiry, bearded hikers with bulging calf muscles that stood waiting with us for the train to pull to a stop at Harper's Ferry. It is a charming and picturesque small West Virginia town, the place where we would take our first steps. This is the unofficial halfway point of the Appalachian Mountains, running from Maine to Georgia, all 2,190 miles of it. "You think they'll make it?" says one of the hikers. "Yeah, they'll make it," says the other, waving his hand like it's no big deal. The train comes to a stop and the doors slide open. Nick and I are unsure of ourselves, but we jump off and into our first steps. We are so novice, we don't know which direction is north and which is south. Forced to ask the local for assistance. "Hey, Mac, which way is north on the AT?" Nick says. Without hesitation, the man points with his left hand, that way. Feeling like we're 12 years old, heading off on an adventure, we set out on what we thought was the trail. The trail is supposed to be marked with 6 by 3 inch white painted blazes. They're on trees, posts, rocks, and sometimes on bridges. But as we hike along, frustration replaces our short-lived confidence. We see white markers, but are they the ones? "Hey, Julia, how often are we supposed to see these markers? Your guess is as good as mine." "Huh? I don't know," I say. "Are we going the right way?" Nick replies. "I'm following you," I say. "Oh, no. This is your gig, Julia. We're in this together," I reply. "Okay," he responds, "let's just keep walking until we see someone else and can ask if we are going the right way. Let's go." Another 20 minutes pass, and then I say, is that a white blaze?" Which I think I see on a tree. "Maybe. Let's keep going. This pack weighs a ton." Another mile until we approach a maintenance man with a chainsaw, and he confirms what we already suspected. We are going the wrong way. Frustration turns to inner defeat as our very first steps is a 4-mile detour, 2 miles out and 2 miles back. "Shit," says Nick. "West Virginia to Massachusetts? We can't even get past the train station." Julia is the voice of calm reasoning. She diffuses the temper tantrum of her trail mate. "Giving up already? It's not even lunchtime." "Shit again," Nick exclaims. "All right, quit being so dramatic." I pull out our guidebook, which at this point looked very confusing. 9 miles to the first campsite, but 9 miles is now 13. I'm already struggling. We hike down some 200 feet or so and see an actual white blaze. Nick drops to his knees in some sort of coming to Jesus moment at the first sight of the first real white AT blaze, which are consistently about 50 yards or so apart. I think to myself, yes, we can do this. We cross a set of train tracks and immediately go into the woods. The next 9 miles pass with exhilaration and a deep feeling of anticipation mixed with fear. We start ascending up a steep mountain. It is taxing on our modest frames with these ridiculous heavy packs. It adds to our discomfort. Being so focused on ailments and head games, we don't even notice we have now crossed into the state of Maryland. Looking up, I see a rocky and crevassed climb ahead. Above that, I can see an outcropping with other hikers sitting or standing at its edge. Look up, Nicky." He has a quizzical look upon his face. "Are you shitting me?" With much foot and hand work, we hike precariously up and onto the ledge. It is a vast vista of open views of the Potomac River below, with West Virginia behind it, looking like a postcard. Hazy with low clouds, all colors of burnt smoke and sunshine, we drop our packs and feel elated at our achievement and the reward of the satisfying view. We must have languished there for some time. The sun has begun to set. I think to myself, what will the night bring? Bears afoot possibly, rattlesnakes slithering by our tent. I need to push these thoughts out of my mind. I think of the wildlife and into this new routine of hiking as many miles as we could to set up camp, eat, then try to sleep with the animals outside with just a thin veil away from our beating hearts inside the tent. Can I do this? Let's go, says Nick, interrupting my disturbing thoughts. Okay. We lift up our packs clumsily, put them on our aching backs. Buckles and straps click here and there. Readjustments are made to its bulky fitting. Am I wearing this right? The straps are digging into my shoulders. I feel like I'm going to tip backwards with one misstep. I need help, but I keep silent in my discontent in order not to damage my pride. Another 2 miles through the meandering hilltop, thick with underbrush and dense trees, we come to our very first campsite. There is a 3-sided open-aired structure. This is called the Ed Garvey Shelter. We couldn't forget this one if we tried. There was a large fire pit and a dilapidated picnic table with lots of hikers languishing about, talking in pairs or small groups. Tents of all colors, green and orange, canvassed in the lightly wooded area. Some hikers have set up inside the shelter with sleeping bags rolled out into the floor. No way would I ever sleep with strangers. We find a narrow slip of untouched ground on a slight slant. We decide this must be the place. We then begin the painstaking process to assemble our green 2-man tent. Really, this should have taken under 3 minutes. But because we think we have practiced putting it up and down so many times before we had left the safe harbor of home. But here it is, and now it's turning into a fight, and an embarrassing one at that. 20 minutes or so later, our little home was created. Seriously, are we going to make it? We must be nuts to try living outside and walk hundreds of miles through many states north. How about back to the train station? How about back to the real world? Nick says, "We need water. We're out." "Can't be," I exclaim. He replies, "Yeah, and you're the one who drank most of it." It's time now to learn how to collect and clean water to sustain ourselves. We know by our trusty guidebook there is a water source close by. I tell Nick, "You can ask one of those hikers over there," pointing to the shelter area. You do it," he says. I respond, "Nope. I'm going to figure out this gas cook pot and make us something to eat." Nick quickly grabs the empty Naline bottles and Sawyer pump system. He huffs out and over to the group of hikers. I see him chatting for a few minutes with them, and then he disappears into a thick treed area and out of my view. My heart pounds instantly. I feel unsafe, insecure. I count the minutes till I see him again. 10 minutes, 15 minutes passes. Then he pops up and through the woods, and he looks sweaty and has a slight limp. Oh my God, that was really far down this mountain. He drops the bottles of water to the ground. He flops down to the dirt like a wet bag of hammers. I say, "Are you all right?" Nick replies, "Next time, you're getting the water." "Fine, I will," I say. I think, "It couldn't have been that bad." He grumbles something inaudible. I did see 2 deer up the stream just watching me. That was nice. I finished making our very first meal on the trail. It was a Mountain House brand of beef stew. It has dehydrated noodles and a sauce. Coveted by hikers and truly an expense we indulged in. Except for this attempt of mine to cook it into a soup version of a barely edible and quite unpalatable meal. Needless to say, I was banned from cooking from then on out. Really, though, I was very happy to be relieved of its duties. Nick says, "Did you read the directions for this? Are the potatoes supposed to be hard?" Nick picks up the package, reads it, and says, "It's supposed to simmer for 20 minutes, not 20 seconds. I didn't know, I say. With our dinner complete, we followed that up with a dry granola bar for dessert. It was time to hang the food bag. There is a time for everything. And this event of nightly ritual would prove to be a challenge I sloughed off of this responsibility as well, too. Nick has an incredible pitching arm and aim. How hard could it be? Nick ties a rope to a small pocket knife and makes several attempts to launch it over a nearby branch, about 40 feet high. It doesn't reach its mark, and it is a buck short. Lumbering close to Nick is a large man who looks like a cross between Benjamin Franklin and an aging rock star. He says to Nick, "How you doing? Listen, I don't want to be that guy, but I gotta be that guy." Nick shrugs his shoulders, too exhausted to respond, looking over at him. You need a branch further out and higher to keep the bears from snatching it," the man says. Nick looks out into the woods with the high shrubs in the darkening forest. "I'm not going out there with the rattlesnakes." This is true. The man says, "You're doing great." Nick powers up his arm, because this next pitch, Nick nails a shot with a rope going over the branch. Immediate cheers go up. They share a high five, good nights are heard, and we finally lay our heads to sleep. I think to myself, what kind of animals will creep in the night? And will I wake at the morning light? Thanks for listening. It was really fun to write this together of our experience when we hiked the AT 5 years ago. We are putting this together in a series of chapters, so there'll be another story that goes on from here and see if we made it to the next day. Thank you for listening, and I'd like to wish you to have good thoughts and to say good words and to do good deeds.